I think it's Yael to start, not me.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the live session, another live session of GreenWeek. It's about Life for Clean Air. We have very tight schedule today, actually. It's 1 hour with many speakers, many news. And we will listen to the presentations of 2 live projects. We will hear some news from the policy area, from Guido de Wilt, and from the Committee of the Regions. And we'll also have a small quiz. Unfortunately, due to the tight schedule, we won't have time for questions and answers. So please excuse us for this, but I'm sure that you will find the session very interesting. I wish to draw to your attention that at the end of the session, we'll also talk about the upcoming live call for proposals with the hashtag EU Live 21. And I also invite you to log in and click as soon as possible into the Slido page of the session. So we will be able to participate, everybody, in the quiz. The quiz results will be available and made known to you at the end of the session. But now, after I pass the word to Mario Lionetti from CINEA, the coordinator for air projects of Life. Go ahead, Mario.
Thank you very much, Yael. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this GreenWeek session about life and clean air. This year, GreenWeek focused on zero pollution, and allow me to say that zero is quite a challenging word. Zero means that pollution level will be reduced to levels that cannot be considered harmful for people, for humans, and for the ecosystem anymore. And I think we have to be glad that the European Union has set a so ambitious zero pollution target. But this also means that we need a trajectory to do this, and we need to implement integrated and synergic actions, because in the most of cases, to reach zero, we don't have one single solution. And I just want to give you a quick example on how life can contribute to go to zero. For example, let's talk about domestic heating. For example, we have a project today that will explain more. I would just use it as a quick example. Domestic heating can be a source of pollution in areas where there is high use of solid fuels like coal and wood, for example, combined with the use of old and not efficient stoves. Particulate matters can be a big source of pollution that can create a problem to human and ecosystem health. A first approach would be technological, so how to replace these old stoves with new, cleaner, and most efficient one, and using better and cleaner fuel, such as pellet, for example. This can substantially reduce already particulate matter, but not to zero. So we understand that we have to combine to this other kind of actions. Can be technological, but can be in other sectors. For example, behavioral. How to raise awareness about pollution, and how to teaching people how to use less energy and better their heating stoves would substantially contribute to reduce, again, energy consumption and emissions of particulate matter. Again, this cannot reach zero yet. So we have to can combine again other actions in sectors that maybe are not primarily devoted to reduce air pollution. For example, planting trees and designing in the urban context vegetation can improve filtering and deposition of particulate matters. And if the particulate matters is filtered, is not inhaled by humans, and so cannot be dangerous anymore. So with this quick example, I just wanted to show you how life can contribute. Why? Because life can help you to implement everything I told you before. It can be done in one project, and then we can network projects. Synergically, it can be done in an integrated way. So all the synergies I told you can be implemented in one project. We will learn more about specific projects today. So Yael, I give you back the floor, and thank you very much for your attention. And Yael, the floor is yours. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Mario. Thank you very much. Very interesting what you said about zero pollution. Is it really possible? Now we have to dash on, and I ask if you can please show the Slido questions so I can read them out loud, and you can vote for the correct answer according to you. Good. Okay, all the answers will be, of course, discussed during the presentations today, but now I ask you to vote, and we will see the results at the end of the session. So how long has life been working towards zero pollution? You have 4 answers. 29 years, 18, 12, or 7. Next question, please. How many of the EU's 15 most polluted cities are located in Malaposka? This will be, of course, discussed by Dr. Piotrusiak. So it's 3, 12, 7 cities, or 36. Next question, please. And again, it's about the integrated project in Poland. What are the municipal employees responsible for air pollution in Live IP Malopolska, more commonly known as? So you have different titles: eco managers, air quality advisors, energy advisors, or air protection managers. Next question, which will be known when we hear the presentation of Mr. Appelman of Live Clinch. By when is the EU's inland shipping fleet aiming to be zero emission? So 2035, 2040, 2050, or 2080? Okay, next question. This will be a question from the presentation on the news from the EU policy on clean air. How many yearly premature deaths can be attributed to air pollution in the EU? So here the numbers are quite astonishing. 40,000, 95,000, 400,000, or 1 million. And the last question. Please cast your vote, of course. Which of these regions face persistent particulate matter fine dust pollution? So we have southern Poland, northern Italy, eastern Slovakia, or western Bulgaria. Please cast your votes. And we will see the correct answers after the presentations and towards the end of the session. Thank you very much. We can now move on to the first very interesting presentation for this session on the EU policy news from the Clean Air Act. I invite to the pod Guido de Wilt from the European Commission, DG Environment, a policy officer. Thank you very much. Please, Guido.
Thank you, Yael. Could you please show the first slide? Thank you. So my name is Guido de Wilt, and I'm working at the Clean Air Unit for DG Environment in the European Commission. And I am a contact point for the LIFE projects and clean air. So it's very fortunate for me. I'm very happy to illustrate today how LIFE can work towards cleaner air in the context of the Zero Pollution Action Plan. Next slide, please. Well, when you look at air pollution, it is a really big problem, and over 400,000 premature deaths each year are attributed to air pollution. So there you have the first answer to the question that we just were asked. You see that the impact can be very wide. Air pollution can address the central nervous system, of course, the lungs, the heart and cardiovascular system. It can also lead to neurological diseases. So it's a very serious health issue. When you look at the economic impacts, it's also a very, very big problem. More than 20 billion euros per year in direct costs. That can be, for example, health costs, but can also be damage to buildings, damage to crops. So that is direct damage. But if you look at the indirect costs, for example, days of work lost, then you have even far more costs. The estimates range from 330 to 940 billion euros per year. So that is really huge. It is the biggest environmental problem that we have from a health point of view. Also, environmental impacts are very serious. So if you have deposition, for example, of nitrogen, then it can lead to very severe damage on ecosystems. So it is a real issue that we have to address. Next slide, please. So where is air pollution coming from? Well, the sources are very diverse. For example, fine dust, PM 2.5, which is 2.5 micrometers and below. It's coming from households, for example, from solid fuel combustion. If you use coal or wood, then you can have PM. It can also come from energy, for example, electricity production, but also industry in a wider sense, and transport. You have also nitrogen oxides that is coming from transport, from households, for example, if you heat your house, but also from the energy sector and from industry. Sulfur dioxide is coming from the energy sector, especially if you use coal for electricity generation, but also from industry and households again, if you use coal, for example, less from transport. And then you have ammonia, which is a very special kind of pollutant, then because it is almost exclusively coming from agriculture. Air pollution is a very tricky problem because it is transboundary. So there is no limit to it. If one country emits a lot, then the neighbors will suffer from it, and vice versa. There's always some pollution. So the national level background is always there. So even if you walk in a forest far from any city center or from any urban agglomeration or industry, you will have some air pollution. But of course, we want to reduce it to levels that are not harmful to health. Like Mario said, that is the zero pollution ambition. It will never be completely zero, but we have to limit the effects. So we have a lot of pollution in city levels. So for example, city hotspots, because of transport and industry. You have peaks near roadside. But so there you have some hotspots, but also, for example, roadside peaks can happen in the rural countryside. So if children are dropped off at school in the countryside in the morning, then you see close to the school also a hotspot. So air pollution is a very tricky thing. It can vary in time, it can vary in place, it can affect the neighbors, etc. So this requires that people all over Europe all do their bit for air pollution, because then we help each other as well. Next slide, please. So where is air pollution a problem? Well, if you look at PM, particulate matter, then you see that exceedances are happening, for example, in Central and Eastern Europe, in the southern Poland. That was one good answer to your question. But also, for example, in Slovakia, that was also a good answer to the question that was asked. Another hotspot is Northern Italy, in the Po Valley. So that was a good answer. And Western Bulgaria, you see also some dark red dots over there. So air pollution is a problem, and we have several hotspots in Europe. So whatever answer you gave to the last question in the quiz, it was a kind of trick question. Everything is unfortunately correct. The sources can be a bit different. For example, in Poland and Slovakia and Bulgaria, it can be linked to solid fuel to a large extent. In the Po Valley, for example, you have geographical and climate factors. For example, they are among the Alps, the mountains, so air pollution cannot be ventilated away, so to speak. When you look at NO2 concentrations, you see that they are higher in densely populated areas, for example, various related to transport. Next slide, please. So what is the EU doing about air pollution? Of course, in cooperation with stakeholders and member states and regions and local authorities. So we have at the EU level source-specific emission standards, for example, for appliances. For example, Eco-Design Directive is very important. We regulate industry, the Industry Emissions Directive and the Medium Combustion Plants Directive. We work on energy efficiency, we have fuel standards. So that is one thing. We also have ceilings for emissions in every country for 5 air pollutants: SO2, NOx, non-methane volatile organic compounds, PM2.5 and ammonia. And we have concentration standards for various air polluting substances. And there you have EU level all over Europe that have to be met as well. So there is very much action there. National emission reduction commitments, for example, have to be elaborated in national air pollution control programs. And if concentrations of air polluting substances are exceeded, then a region or city has to develop an air quality plan and implement it to keep the time of exceedances as short as possible. Next slide, please. Now we are talking about the Zero Pollution Action Plan, which is very ambitious, and we are talking about life, and we are talking about policies. And this slide basically is combining the three areas. So if you look at the Zero Pollution Action Plan, I have the topics that are linked to air quality as kind of chapters. For example, improving health and well-being. And then you see in that context, in the Zero Pollution Action Plan, you see improving air quality as a priority. For example, revising the Air Quality Directive to include new World Health Organization guidelines and to look at indoor air quality. And then in light blue, I have described how the LIFE program can contribute to this. So if you look at the LIFE program, you have this pillar that is called resource efficiency and quality of life. And there you have priorities that can really address this priority. You also have the information side, the governance side, GIE for environment, which can also help. You have integrated projects, strategic integrated projects for air. And Thomas Petusak will give more examples of that. So you have various ways in which the LIFE program can address this chapter in the Zero Pollution Action Plan. In the Zero Pollution Action Plan, you also see so-called flagships. So reducing health inequalities through zero pollution, supporting urban zero pollution action. And then you see that the LIFE program will help because we have clean air priority topics, which address mobility and reducing PM from solid fuel. So again, the LIFE program is very supportive for this action. You also see that this chapter in the Zero Pollution Action Plan is linked with other Green Deal actions, such as sustainable and smart mobility and energy efficiency. And in the LIFE program, you will find clean air priority topics that link to smart mobility, for example. But energy efficiency can also be addressed in the climate change mitigation pillar of LIFE and in the clean energy transition. So LIFE is very holistic, so to speak. You just don't look at the energy, environment pillar to work on zero pollution, but you can also help reduce air pollution, looking at the climate pillar and the clean air transition pillar. If you look at the chapter in the Zero Pollution Action Plan that is called Living Without Our Planetary Boundaries, you will see that, for example, regulating priority pollutants for surface and groundwaters is one priority. And that is linked to air quality, because if you have less ammonia in the atmosphere and less nitrogen dioxide, there will be less deposition of nitrogen into on soil and in groundwaters. So there we have synergies. So promoting zero pollution across regions is also very important. If you look, for example, at the projects that we do in the resource efficiency and the quality of life, you see in general that we always promote cooperation across regions in Europe. You also see a link with integrated nutrient management. For example, nitrogen is one of these nutrients, and then we can work on that as well. So that is also a very good example how the LIFE program can contribute. Other examples for this, I don't know if they are on the next slide. Yes. Then you see that another chapter is towards zero pollution from production and consumption. And then you have reducing pollution from industrial installations and promoting breakthroughs. So that is linked to the Industrial Emissions Directive. And that is also, again, the clean air priority topic in the LIFE program. And then another chapter in the Zero Pollution Action Plan is boosting change across society for zero pollution. And there the topics that the Zero Pollution Action Plan wants to promote is improving information for citizens, developing skills, education and training, working with cities and regions. That is very much linked to governance and awareness and training. So the governance and information side of the LIFE program and the strategic projects for air can really help there. It is also linked to zero pollution solutions for buildings and for green digital solutions. And if you read that in the Zero Pollution Action Plan, you can make links with the clean air transition, with the quality of life pillar, with climate change mitigation, and with the clean air transition. So I hope to have illustrated by these two slides that zero pollution is very well geared towards helping reducing air pollution in Europe, and that the LIFE program has in various pillars very many possibilities to help realize this. So next slide, please. So if you want more information about air policies, you have a link here on this slide. And as there's a lot going on, and there will be a revision of the EU air quality legislation, you can also contribute there from your experience, and there's a link for that as well. So thank you very much for your attention. I'm looking forward to all the other speakers and any input from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Peter. Always very interesting listening to you and seeing how you managed to connect the policy landscape to the LIFE project. I also wanted to mention that you have in the LIFE program also the preparatory projects, which are a very small strand, but they also do a lot of things for clean air. And that's it from my side. I want to move on to the next part of our presentation, of our session, which is the presentation by the two projects. And we will start with the Dutch project, Life Clinch. And I invite to Frank Appelman to speak to us. He's from the province of Zuid-Holland, and he's the project coordinator. And please go ahead, Frank. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity to present the Clinch project here on this stage. Yes, there's my slide. The slide clicker doesn't give a control, so I will say next slide. It will be most easy. Okay, like you said, indeed, I'm Frank Appelman, working for the province of Zuid-Holland, and I'm going to present about Clinch. And Clinch is about greening inland waterway transport. Next slide, please. Clinch is a project that's international organized. 4 countries are involved: Netherlands, Belgium, Germany, and United Kingdom. And on the right side, you see all the partners that are connected to Clinch, and there are about 17 partners. And it's an interesting group of government organizations, knowledge organizations, companies. So that's really interesting to work with. Next slide, please. In this slide, I've tried, also considering the time, to summarize the different aspects of Clinch. The main goal of Clinch is to improve the air quality in urban areas by accelerating emission reduction in inland waterway transport, and to be in line with the greening targets that are formulated in the European Union, but also in the Netherlands and also in Germany. And Netherlands is, as you might know, the most important country with inland shipping. Around 8,000 inland ships are registered with a Dutch flag. What we do in Clinch is we test the use of innovative technologies in real-life conditions. And that's, I think, the most striking or new aspect of Clinch, that real-life conditions will be measured instead of like testbed conditions. And we do that with different techniques, alternative fuels, and we're also looking at shore power. And we look at contributing the reduction of emissions of NOx and particulate matter, and also CO2, but CO2 is calculated, it's not directly measured. We do that by carrying out monitoring activities on a fleet of vessels in real time. And we monitor with and without greening techniques, so that in that way there is a result and a comparison to be made between the different situations in terms of the environmental gains from those greening technologies and clean fuels. On top of measuring on ships, we also do onshore measurements on a lot of ships, actually, because a lot of ships are sailing on the Rhine, and those are measured. From the database that is collected, fleet scenarios will be developed or are being developed to show the expected impact on emissions of the inland fleet as a whole when you use different greening techniques. And also we look at the cost aspect of that. Besides the ships, we also look at onshore power supply. So we are monitoring cabinets of onshore power in Ghent and in Nijmegen. And the main goal of all these activities is to derive recommendation and policy tools based on scenarios that are developed, and to increase awareness among the ship owners and policymakers on how to work with cleaning inland shipping. Next slide, please. Just to illustrate what we are doing more precise on the ships, there's a total number of 43 ships contracted with different technologies, and it's summarized in this table. And it's all a bit condensed on one slide, but there are like 29 general cargo ships, 7 container ships, 10 oil tankers, and it's a nice mixed group of ships and a mixed group of ship owners with whom we have a lot of contact, and it's quite interesting as well because it's like a motivated group of ship owners that wanted to participate in Clinch. Next slide, please. It sounds maybe not so complicated, but in practice, it was quite an effort first to contract those ships, but also secondly, to prepare the ships for monitoring, because all ships are different, all the engine rooms are different. So to put on sensors in the exhaust systems, that was quite an operation. So it took a little bit more time than planned, but in the end, we succeeded in this. Next slide, please. Yes, like I said, besides measuring on ships themselves, we are measuring on shore as well, at the River Rhine and also in the ports of Duisburg and Neuss. And what's happening there is that all ships that pass by are measured when possible, and that's depending, of course, on the weather conditions as well. And all those ships are registered with an AES that they have to carry. It's automatic identification system, so we know all ships that are passing by. And from that information, the actual emissions of all these ships can be calculated. And what we see already is that those ships provide a significant contribution to the air pollution locally, and then also that there's a clear potential for reducing ship emissions and contribute to a better air quality. Next slide, please. This is, let's say, looking into the way the analysis is performed, because we derive what we call business as usual fleet scenarios. And that's what you would expect the fleet, how you would expect the fleet to develop without policy measures. That's on the right top side of this slide. That's a bit small, but you see different engines and different techniques evolve in time. And based on the findings that we have and the policy scenarios that we can think of, using the information that we have about, let's say, the effectiveness of the emission reduction of different techniques, but also the cost aspect of those techniques, we derive new, what we call clinch fleet scenarios, to see how we can stimulate and fasten the implementation of more greener techniques on ships, that you see as an example on the slide on the right side. You see, let's say, the adoption of greening techniques, and if you organize it in the right way, you can really fasten it up, considering of compared to the business as usual scenario. Next slide, please.
Frank, sorry, this is just to remind you, you have 2 more minutes.
Yes, okay, I will be fast. I'm almost done. This is onshore power example of the cabinets in Nijmegen. And there we also look at how they are used, how we can encourage the usage of onshore power, and also what the effect on air quality is, of course, potential of that. Next slide, please. This is my last slide, actually. So we are now working on our, let's say, end report and the storyline for that. It will be fed with all the information from the analysis that is going on. We see that the huge potential can be gained by accelerating the use of emission reduction techniques, and we can use the period that is lying between now and, let's say, 2050 in the end, in which heavy transport is supposed to be zero emission. And there's plenty of time and a lot of air quality to be gained by using emission reduction techniques, effective emission reduction techniques in the meantime. So to develop policy support, environmental zones, to promote greening techniques and alternative fuels is a, let's say, low-hanging fruit. It's a no-brainer with a lot of benefits. and we think we can derive a lot of interesting and useful recommendations from the information that we find. One of the ways it could be used is by developing a labeling system with clean outcomes, and this labeling system could be used by port authorities, by cities along rivers, etc. To finalize the Cleans project, we will organize a END conference on the 25th November of 2021 in Rotterdam, and there we will present all our findings. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Frank. Very interesting. I must say that now we're going to hear a strategic integrated project, Life Malaposka, which is an integrated project, meaning very large scale, many beneficiaries. In the specific case, a big budget, but also in your case, I saw that you have so many partners, a big budget, and you're doing really big things. Thank you very much for this. So now, as I mentioned, I'm going to pass the floor to the coordinator of the project Life IP Malopolska. It's Tomasz Pietrusiak. He's the Deputy Director of the Environmental Department, to be more exact. So I pass the floor to you, and again, 10 minutes. I will remind you when time is.
Thank you very much. Good morning for everyone. Thank you for inviting our project for this place to show how we organize our project. Thanks for the LIFE program. We fight with the smoke in Małopolska region. Our main task is, of course, to improve the CAFE directive and implement it in Małopolska. How we do it, I show on some slides. Małopolska is the region when we have, in Poland is 63 of 50 most polluted cities in the EU. In this, 7 in Małopolska. Unfortunately, 98% of residents live in areas where standards are with the benzoyl are exceeded. When we started our project in 2015, it was more than 500,000 solid fuel boilers. Now we still have 400 solid fuel boilers which we need to replace. Małopolska organized a big project with very good help of the European Commission officials with 69 partners. In this, we have 62 municipalities, including Krakow, with special solid fuel ban for wood and coal. We have Silesian region, a non-governmental organization, Krakow Smoke Alert, the National Energy Conservation Agency, CAPE, and Ministry of the Environment of Czech Republic and Slovak Hydrometeorological Institute, and Institute Vito. We are in one of the 3 hotspots in Europe, as Guido said. Our project is for 8 years, and the budget of project is 70 million euros. What we are doing in our project, the main task is eco-managers. There are persons who help the residents to take the information about the possibility to change the old boilers. We organize meetings for people, for children, and we are organizing also the thermal imaging service and inspection of to prevent waste burning in private houses. Eco-managers are working with people all the time and organizing for them also money for exchanging the boiler. What we do in our excellence centers in the Małopolska region, in Marshal Office, we prepare a training and workshop for employees from all municipalities from whole Małopolska and Silesia region, supporting them with studies and analysis, organizing meetings and conferences, and some of them it was the postgraduate studies in the field of air protection, and prepare a lot of education and information materials, which you can find on our website. What is very, very important in our project, we organize complementary funds with help of LIFE program 10 million euro. We organize 1 billion euros for anti-smoke actions. For example, it is the money for replacement on inefficient boiler, for thermal modernization, to install the renewable energy sources and organize the educational activities, or prepare the park and rides and change the transport for low carbon. And it is also working for the effects which we can achieve in our project. And on this picture, can you see that municipalities with our eco-advisor, it is the left blue one, it is the information that municipalities with eco-managers can change the situation 3 times more effective instead of municipalities which cannot have the people who are working in this area. It was the main problem when we started our project in 2015. Now we see that the eco-managers is very, very good solution for our problems in Malopolska region to change the situation. They help to replace the boilers. They control if people are using rubbish in these boilers, and of course preparing money and organize some project to replace these boilers and give the people and children information how the smoke is influence on the health. And what can you see on this picture is probably the most important moment, because the annual average of PM10 in Malopolska is going to the standard with CAFE directive, and this effect wouldn't be possible with help of people who are working in the European Commission before, in the ISMI and the CINEA agency now, because we have a lot of help from these people. And of course, our partners from Silesia region, from Czech Republic and Slovakia, in our project is working more than 110 people who are trying to find the solution to fight the smoke in our hotspot in this place. And what is very important in our project, we see that the eco-managers can change the situation in small and big cities. We have even some examples, some cities which employ more eco-advisors because they see the effectiveness of their work. And I think, thanks of this, the air quality revolution in Malopolska is possible, is still going for the future, because of course we have a lot to do. As I told on the start, we have still 400 solid fuel boiler to replace, but we take anti-smog resolution special for Krakow solid fuel ban and anti-smog resolution for whole Malopolska, and to the end next year we need to change a lot of these boilers, and we hope the future, as example of Krakow city, shows that solid fuel ban is working. We can breathe with clean air. And thank you very much, all people from the European Commission agency, ISMI, CINEA, who helped us to improve such a big and complicated project, because if I have a good information, probably we are the biggest project with the number of partners in the history of life. It is not so easy, but give us a lot of good effects for the air quality in Malopolska region, in this hotspot in the Europe. Thank you very much for this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tomasz. Maybe you can mute your microphone. You took the words out of my mouth, because I wanted to say that being a life monitor, I know that coordinating a project is difficult, but coordinating almost 70 partners, it's basically impossible. And my compliments for you and your achievements, and it's really incredible. And we are 1 minute ahead of schedule, which is a good thing. And I will pass the floor now to János Adam Karocsny from the Committee of the Regions. He's the rapporteur on air quality issues, and let's hear what he has to say to us to share with the live community. Please, Mr. Karocny. I lost. Adam, are you with us? Okay, you just need to turn on your microphone, I think.
Yes, I'm here.
Now it's okay.
The connection error. Yeah.
Okay, so please, the floor is yours. I remind you that you have 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Good morning to everyone. My name is Adam Karacsány. I'm member of local government of Tahitótfalu in Hungary, and also a member of the European Committee of the Regions. The Committee of the Regions, the COR, is a consultative body that represents local and regional authorities and bring their voices in the EU institutions, in particular by preparing opinions on the EU initiatives. I have been the rapporteur of the Outlook opinion of the future of the EU clean air policy in the framework of zero pollution ambition. The Zero Pollution Action Plan includes many proposals of great importance from a local and regional perspective. The opinion of the COR underlined the importance of health and prevention of premature death. The action plan introduces a new 2030 of reducing by more than 55% the health impacts of air pollution. The revision of the ambient air quality directives in connection with the new WHO guidelines is one of the proposals of greatest importance. The ambient air quality directives have a clear territorial dimension with the definition of zones and agglomeration, and local and regional communities have a fundamental role in improving air quality in their areas. However, pollution does not stop at local, regional, national, or EU borders. A peri-urban village might have problems in stopping pollution coming from a nearby metropolis. To counteract air pollution, we need horizontal cooperation between different local authorities and regions. As a COR, we have established a working group called Green Deal Going Local that aims at placing cities and regions at the core of the European Green Deal and ensure that both the EU's Sustainable Growth Strategy and the COVID-19 recovery plan translate into direct funding for regions and tangible projects for every territory. Funding is essential, as a success in implementing air quality programs is significantly influenced by financial resources. EU funding opportunities, including LIFE, are means to achieve wider objectives benefiting also air quality, especially those included in the air quality plans under the ambient air quality directives. In this context, it is crucial to ensure coherence between projects funded by the EU and policies of national, regional, and local authorities in order to maximize their impacts. The COR has created a network of regional hubs to monitor the implementation of EU policies on the ground, and we have also approved an opinion 3 years ago on the new LIFE program proposal. Our opinion welcomed the proposal by the European Commission, which, with its unreversed reconfirmation of the LIFE program for the next MFF, explicitly acknowledges its success and the European added value generated so far. The opinion also supported higher funding levels for LIFE and underlined the substantial direct impact for local and regional authorities that LIFE program has already demonstrated. We also underlined that efforts to improve air quality should be consistent with greenhouse gas reduction requirements. Particular attention should be focused on promoting a shift away from sources of air pollution, in particular domestic heating appliances and power stations, based on the most polluting fossil fuels. I want to conclude underlining the importance of networking. We can mention many initiatives: air quality partnerships of the urban agenda, the Covenant of Mayors, the Cleaner Forum, and the Cleaner Dialogues. We are co-organizing tomorrow's session on the Green City Accord that includes air among its 5 key areas. The Zero Pollution Action Plan includes also a new Zero Pollution stakeholder platform with the participation of the Committee of the Regions. Tomorrow at the closing session of the Green Week, you will hear more about this new platform. And at the end, let me mention the new Hungarian Life Integrated Project, the HungAERI. This 8-year project aimed to improve the implementation of the air quality plans of 10 Hungarian municipalities across 8 of the country's regions. It will be realized inter alia through the development of emission databases, modeling activities, comprehensive awareness raising, and the establishment of national networks of experts and consultants. An exceptional opportunity for these cities who can serve as a role model for many others later on. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much, János Adam. And I must say that your focus on regions and cities is really what the LIFE program is very often about. We saw it in the Malaposka region. I know it's something that happens also in another integrated project in another European hotspot, which is the Po Valley. So it's the Prepare Air project in Hungary. So this collaboration between municipalities and region is essential to reduce, of course, to increase air quality. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I will pass now the floor to a person that maybe needs no presentations, but I will do it anyway, especially since he has a new title. Angelo Salsi. He's the now head of Department D, Natural Resources, Climate, Sustainable Blue Economy and Clean Energy in CINEA. And Angelo, I pass the floor to you. Go ahead.
Thanks, Yael. This is the first time ever that I have been introduced like that. So it's really an honor and a pleasure to have such a long name for our department. Let's call it the Green Deal Department so we can make it shorter. But without being too ambitious, I want to bring you back a few years in the history of life, then to project you in the coming years that are in front of us. I am a great believer that you don't know where you're going to if you don't know where you're coming from. So we have 29 years of history now behind our back, and across these 29 years, already from 1992, we started financing zero pollution without even talking about zero pollution. We knew that air quality was an issue, like many others, and at the time LIFE was designed and as the only specific financial program for environment, and air was very much already high on the agenda. I remember a project dating back in '93 in a suburban area in London, where they tried to monitor highly polluting vehicles in real time and identify these vehicles and probably send them to maintenance. 20 years or more after, in a city in Spain, they are doing the same thing, and now this is becoming a reality. So as you can see, innovation sometimes it takes a little bit of patience before it materializes. We tend always to believe that technological innovation, once it's there in a week time, is done. It works well with mobile phones apparently, but not that well with many other gadgets. Then across these 29 years, the number of projects we financed dealing with air quality is in the number of hundreds. There is no real precise figure, because the problem is that if you plate a project air quality, you dismiss tons of other projects that are dealing with climate change on the one side, energy on the other one, water treatment, nature conservation, and all of those in one way or another, they do contribute massively or to a certain extent to air quality as well. So it would be unjust to say we have financed X air quality projects. The thing which is certain is that there are a number of gems in the landscape of the project we financed. One of them I want to mention it to you. It's a 1999 project. So again, stepping back more than 10 years. France. And guess what? This project had the objective of setting the first car-free day in the cities of Europe. And more than 10 years after, we are celebrating this car-free day in hundreds of cities across Europe every year. Nobody remembers that it started with a LIFE project, but that's what it is. When you have a great idea and the catalyzer, which LIFE is, comes at the right time and in the right shape, then great ideas, they can become reality and can stay for a very long time. It's not only Europe, there are now other continents or other countries. For example, Southern America has certain countries that are celebrating car-free days every year. So the model spread out from that LIFE project and went farther than the borders of the European Union. You have witnessed now, thanks to Thomas and Adam, the beauty of the integrated projects. So this is a new, if you want, spearhead that we invented in the last LIFE regulation. And we have 5 specific integrated projects on air quality, more to come, I can already tell you. And the beauty of those integrated projects is that it's policy in action. So when people read a directive or a regulation, they think, yeah, well, that's nice to have legislation, but then how do you turn it into reality? And these projects, that's what they're doing. And they're not doing it at a demo scale. They're doing it at a massive scale. In Krakow, you have hundreds of people, or thousands of people that were breathing a bad air quality before the project started. And now the same people are breathing a good quality air. So it's if you are one of those people, for you, this is a game changer. And I must thank Guido that believed in this kind of initiative. And I want to thank Thomas because he says he thanked us a lot of times. Frankly, we did our job. We had the good idea of inventing this vehicle. Guido had the good idea of jumping on the vehicle and pushing it, promoting it. But in reality, the work is done by the people on the ground. So people like Thomas and so on. And the model from Malaposka, as Adam mentioned, has spread over other countries. Now Hungary and Bulgaria, for example, just to mention 2 sort of neighbors that are joining in the game. And Yael mentioned obviously the Po Valley. So we are addressing almost all the hotspots now. We're not going to solve all the problems, but when the people talk about finding synergies among the various sources of money, the integrated project is exactly this. I mean, Thomas is sitting in a sort of a how can I say, the pilot type of booth in the aeroplane, where the aeroplane is not a sort of a tourist 2-people seater, but it's a jumbo, because he has 1 billion behind his shoulders, 1 billion to do tons of things that before could have been done, or maybe not, could have been setting, using the right priorities or not. Maybe they would have been monitored or not, but thanks to the existence of the LIFE integrated project, all this is happening. So the things, the streams are tied together, and the mainstreaming, so the many streams, they become a river, and that's why you get the results that you get. So now, back in the future, 21, 27, as Adam said, and I thank the Committee of the Region, the LIFE regulation continues. Against all odds, we persistently survived every single new financial perspective, and now we are even bigger and stronger. A recognition of the value, of the intrinsic value of the program. We're going to publish the next call pretty soon. Now, our objective is to do it in the second half of June. I cannot put my hand yet on the fire that this will happen. There are still some alia that we have to clean up, but I promise that we'll do our utmost to respect these deadlines, and we will have, if I remember well, on the 22nd of June, for the moment, is scheduled the LIFE Info Day, so where you will be able to know more about it. If there is a delay, obviously we will keep everyone informed. The integrated project.
1 minute.
Yeah,
so.
Integrated project will survive under the code of strategic integrated project, but The same will happen with the old traditional projects. So the project's life has always been financing, and air quality will be still a mainstream of life in the future. So more money, same tools, one new addition, which is the energy component of life. So I think that there is scope for every one of you to pick up on the results of the others that came before and continue this trajectory and clean up the air we are all breathing every day. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Angelo. And if I may also remind you of the hashtag, if you want to search for information once the call, about the call, when it will be actually published, you have the hashtag EULife21, where you can find information on social media. Okay, we managed to reach the end, and we respected the timing perfectly. Thank you all very much, all the speakers. And now we can see the results of the Slido. But before that, I wanted to say that just a small observation, that something that was like a red thread throughout your presentation is the interdisciplinarity. So we are talking about air qualities, and each one of us is responsible for air quality issues, but actually we're talking about much more than air. We're talking about climate change, transport, mobility, agriculture, energy, and each one of us need to be super qualified in many issues in order to be able to deal with air quality. So yes, thank you very much, everybody, for giving this insight into the question. And now if we can go to the Slido to see the answers. So here, 2/3 of you got the right answers, and this was Angelo mentioned it in his last presentation. How long has Life been working towards zero pollution? It's 29 years. And yeah, next year will be 30th anniversary, and I expect a lot of celebrations, hopefully in person. Next slide, next question. So how many of the EU's 15th most polluted cities are located in Malaposka? And the correct answer is 7 cities. 40% of you answered it. Okay. Next question. What are the names of the municipal employees responsible in the Malapolska region? What are they called? Eco managers. We saw the pictures with their writing on the vest. 2/3 of you got it right. Next one. Okay. By when is the EU's inland shipping fleet aiming to be a zero emission? 2050. Almost 2/3 of you got it right, 57%, 2050. It was in Frank Appelman's presentation. Next. So the premature death, I remember this from Guido's presentation, one of the first slides. Almost 500,000, 400,000 people die prematurely from air pollution. 50% of you got it right. Next. We're almost there. And which of these regions face persistent particulate matter fine dust pollution? Guido gave the answer while he was presenting, and it's basically all of these hotspots. And as Angelo also mentioned before, I think in all of these hotspots, we have a life project going on, maybe not Western Bulgaria. Okay, that's it. We're done. I wish to thank you, everybody, for your timeliness. Very interesting results from the project, very interesting discussions, very short, very intense. I'm sorry we didn't have time for questions and answers, really, but I think maybe you just nonetheless enjoyed yourself with the quiz. And remember, the live call 2021 will be issued hopefully towards the end of the month. Follow it with the hashtag. Thank you very much, everybody. And that's it on my side. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.